This is season 9, episode 14, number 362 of the Decoder podcast. I feel like our on ramp has been like a Quentin Tarantino type
Ooh.
event. Um, the things we talked about, futuristic, chaotic, advancement, these are the words that come to my mind when I think about what we were talking about. My allergies all of a sudden have kicked in full effect. So I feel like I'm a little loopy as I'm listening to you. Is this a dream? Is this reality? What is happening here? This is what's rolling through my Sunday morning mind.
Mhm.
Also, some of the things we talked about, not appropriate for the podcast live.
Mhm.
Even when I say that, it sounds strange to me. But just, we talk family. We
Mhm.
talk professional learning that some of that may sneak into this conversation live.
Yep.
But I really feel like it was a Quentin Tarantino type on ramp. There was a strangeness to it, but also a familiarity that was comforting to me.
I will say definitely, because neither one of us is retired yet, the actual threading together of when we go live is very different than when we're on the on ramp, right? On ramp, it's like just every thread kind of like connects with each other. So, swearing, sometimes anger, emotions, the raw versions of some of our stories. So I think it's almost necessary to have a little bit of that. That is the essence of the on ramp, right? That you can get some of that out. And if there's still some stuff that's kind of remaining, I think that makes it in our conversations. Now, I will say that um, our podcast, the public facing one, has a lot more edge generally than I ever did with having guests in the room. So that's a different. That's a bit of a that's a cool little bit. That was then, this is now kind of mindset. It also gets me really thinking about some of our colleagues that were doing podcasting back in the day. And it makes me a little, what's the word? It's not sad. I wish for them that they like, this is sort of like the maturation of a podcast. I think you and I doing this on Saturdays, it goes directly to the heart of what we crave, which is to, I think, obviously speak to the public, to speak publicly. That's one of the values in this, right? I think that one of the other values is to not have to stay in our edu lane. We can kind of talk like dad, dude, education. Like we can kind of just flow that way. Um, I also think the idea of not having to spend time that is needed in other places in our lives, having to do the booking, the question, all of the sort of like administrivia stuff. We don't have to do that. It's as simple as a text, right? Is it 7F and 30 or no? And then we kind of navigate from there. So I like that. And I as I say this, it feels like this is there's a refinement to how we do podcasting now that I couldn't have imagined. I really couldn't have. I couldn't have imagined that me talking to, doing squirrels back in the day and all that, all the hoops that were involved with trying to connect with wire DSB people that I found kind of fascinating. They were doing interesting things. Man, I couldn't have seen landing here. And now having done this longer than squirrels, I think squirrels was like 3 or 4 years, maybe, I forget, um, now doubled that with this. Like I said, there's a maturation to my podcasting mindset. And I really dig landing here. because it still feels there's a freshness to it, there's an energy, there's an interest, yet the format really does, like, I feel like I'm owed this format because of the grind. We used to talk about that, the grind, you know, being able to get all the production things down from whatever 7 hours down and I think even one of our episodes here back in the day is like, what am I now doing with that time? Like, how have I repurposed that time if back in the day one podcast, one hour of podcast time took 10 hours of organization and logistics and emails, all that kind of stuff. And I was pretty stoked when I managed to knock that down to like 6 hours. I was like, oh, this is a cool efficiency. It doesn't really compare to the efficiency of this cast at all. Like, it's a different planet altogether. So some of our former colleagues where I started this, they're still colleagues, but former casters, they might still be casters. I don't know. I haven't gone looking for content. But it would be, I don't know. I pitch it to you here. I don't know if it would ever be useful. It would be interesting to do a one episode only of inviting some of those people to Decode It as a check-in and seeing, where are you now? What are you doing now? How you getting your sort of reflective practice out there? Because there are some people that I am seriously curious about, like what they're doing, like, and how they're doing the reflective practice, and who are they connecting with? Like, who do they see as their PLN now? So it'd be like a one night only. This may never happen again. So it's not that we invite one guest, we invite like 10. And it just becomes like, this open discussion around, yo, why aren't you podcasting anymore? What the hell happened? What the hell happened?
What you've suggested is interesting, and I'm not
Maybe
sure.
season 10, maybe a season 10 project.
I'm not even sure. Part of me I'm currently excited. I'm excited at the idea,
It's provocative. It is provocative.
but no, I'm not excited about your idea. I'm excited
Mm,
about the idea of keeping Decoded pure.
mm.
But so that was a little harsh.
No,
I
no.
like your idea, but then I think, oh, once we break that seal, I just we've already broken it. We've had one guest on. It was it was impromptu. It
Yes.
was very
Rough cuts.
organic,
Rough cuts. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
very organic.
And
Like,
unavoidable. That was the thing. It was kind of unavoidable. And it wasn't a value judgment. It wasn't a technical, fumble. It was really happenstance, making the most of the moment. That's really all it was. It was probably that energy that got us over ourselves as far as keeping the lid on it, so to speak.
good morning to
Morning,
Gary.
morning, Gary. And thank you, Gary, for jumping in on a Sunday.
Yes, yes.
Because I don't think we announced this. Did you tell anybody? I didn't mention that
No,
we're
I
going to
didn't
shift.
tell
No.
anybody.
So I love it. Gary's got a morning where he can hang with us. That's cool.
Man, Gary's ears must have been burning red this week. I thought about Gary at least half a dozen times. I pull out, something happens, I pull out the phone. I'm like, no, no, Gary's working. Gary, Gary doesn't need to hear about this right now. So many times. And then I'm like, and then it's like, do I want answers from Gary? And then I thought to myself, oh boy, I bet you some of the things I need from Gary right now, I can't have because Gary's in a different realm. And so things are different. It's not as clear cut as it was before. I thought that was interesting. So half a dozen times I grabbed that phone and I'm like, what am I doing? What's my purpose? Is my
Mm,
purpose just simple reach out? No. Is my purpose to gather information? Yes. Is my purpose to gather information that is Gary, school improvement head, to Roland, student success world teacher? Or is it I think Gary will have information from up here
Mm,
that I might be able to get here that can help me be more effective now. And then it's like
mhm.
most of them were that top level down, and I said, no, 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 I'm not doing it. So Gary, if you were just sitting in your office disciplining a student or out in the hall visiting with people and you just felt this sudden burn, that was me, bro. That was me.
I'm s- small pivot, just
Go
so that
for it.
we don't spin off into the universe too much. I'm wondering, and maybe I don't know if Rochelle drops in, ask them that as well. I'm wondering if Gary has recommended Decoded to anyone.
Why would he?
Well, I don't know. Oh, that would be my second question, right? But I am curious. I am curious. You and I back in the day, we used to talk about just our work on these podcasts as a little bit of a guilty pleasure. And it was difficult sometimes to articulate why we would ever take a couple hours away to go, talk and be on a podcast. Um, and then it just became kind of, I think because, we both settled into like this maturation kind of thing. This is just, it's not even another way. It used to be justified as like really alternative, kind of weird and secret and kind of niche. And then you got into the space where everybody was dropping into a podcast. I like it. I don't know if that was the yes felt you on his neck or yes that he has recommended, but
I
we'll
think
leave that just as
I think it's
maybe
been
to
recommended, but he'll tell
highly
you.
recommended. So and now we're kind of in this space where with this, like it's not it's so embedded that um there's no reason to justify it. It's just part of the practice. It's embedded in practice, right? So recommended. I appreciate that, Gary. So yeah, it's kind of funny because you and I never really have we have these fleeting kind of cheeky conversations about how to uh how to expand the kind of the circles of the conversation a little bit, but we really don't commit to the work to doing that. I'm like, I don't like the amplification of this. So yeah, that was just my
I like that you dropped that pivot. Oh, I'm going to consider that the pivot, but
yeah.
I like this for a few different reasons. One of which is when I'm at work and I hear people talking about podcasts and stuff, I just kind of smile. I smile because, they're referring to capital P podcasts,
Yeah,
not small p podcasts like what we do here.
yeah,
But
yeah.
then when it does come up, someone will say, Roland has a podcast. On Saturday mornings, talks to this other dude. They talk about stuff, and then people are like, "Oh, tell me about it. How many subscribers do you have? What kind of content do you?" And I just like
The metrics come
they
up.
the stereotypical metrics, and I
Yeah,
don't even want to engage with them.
yep.
That's how this podcast this podcast has offered me and continues to offer me so much in terms of me giving, but me taking. And I almost feel sometimes like it's not worth my time to explain Decoded Podcast. It's not, because it's so much more than what I'm going to present that I
Hmm.
just don't want to do it. So, at the very least, what happens is I say to people, me and my buddy Chris, we do a podcast on Saturday mornings where we talk about anything and everything. Usually, you can find a thread relating back to us being parents, fathers, teachers, men. There it is. Then they kind of look at you sideways because they don't know what to do with that because that's so broad. It's
Mm.
so broad. I'm like, well, when was the last time you sat down on a Saturday morning with a friend to talk about your world as a woman, possibly a mom, an educator? Like, when was the last time you did that? And then they're really freaked out. And then I'm really excited because I'm like, the boredom you see and hear in my description, the plainness of it, That's where the magic is.
Hmm.
It's not in the bullshit of trying to pretend we're something else or talk about things that might be hot topics because people will come and listen.
Hmm.
No, for me, that plain Jane aspect of it, the you talk about that on a Saturday morning is like bingo.
Yep.
So it's a little bit Harry Potter. They don't see they don't see um the in the train station. They don't see the platform
Yeah.
where we jump into our talk. They just see a hallway and trains coming and going. And I'm like, there's a friggin' secret door there. That's what decoded is for me.
It'd be interesting. There's something also fascinating about,
And
our access point even into this. Go ahead, finish up before you
I was
get
just
that
gonna
idea
say,
out.
people like Gary and Rochelle, they know where the secret door is. Right? I mean, other than boring the shit out of the two of them, there's gotta be something here. They come back. And
Hmm.
I know for a fact, I'm gonna go out on a limb and I'm gonna say for Gary engages in these kinds of conversations. When Gary and I
Yes.
talk, Gary goes deep with this as a
I
as
don't I don't think you can I don't think you can visit this and not have that type of seeker mindset. I don't think you can sort of tolerate our conversations unless there is sort of that seeker kind of playing with the pieces. Let's see how they fit together. Let's leave out this one piece, like that kind of experimental slash experiential type of conversations, right? Is where you can take reflective practice and make it active. And I get that. I mean, I've had enough that, even the one conversation that we had standing in the parking lot, the three of us, after everyone had gone home, the closing time conversation, standing out in the freaking cold, talking about student success. That's a bonding experience, but it's also deeply revealing of the cards you hold, that you're willing to stand around and chat like that. And I think the pod here is just another version of that. You reveal your cards by being a part of this. You and I have repeatedly. I mean, we've spoken to it. I think our dedication to the craft demonstrates it. This idea that, philosophically speaking, this is the longest conversation about education that I know of so far. Dedicated two people having, like, we are now officially on chapter 362 of our conversation about education, life, being a dad, being a husband. And that's really kind of cool. So, uh, someone dropping in, I can totally see how it's that, oh shit, I just wanted to borrow a pencil. After 10 minutes, they finally got to talking about the pencil. It's my hallway conversations too. It's also exactly like what has not gotten me jobs in the past. Because someone has said to me, wow, you know a lot about education, but could you just answer the question next time? Like, I could. Don't know if I will. I could.
I feel like the people who step in here and stay a little bit, all they all crave what's going on here.
Mhm.
Th- and I don't know what they would think if they participated in the on ramp or an off ramp, because
Mhm.
that is like, I feel like that is um, us times 100, right? With the maybe the detail and the emotion that comes with some of the things we talk about. Yeah, it's the plain Jane. The plain Jane is it makes me laugh and smile. And then I think this is, man, as a collector, 362, that's a pretty big collection. Um,
Mhm.
it brings me joy. This thing we do here feeds me on a number of different levels. It's great. It feeds me on a number of different levels. But the best is the deep dives, because I don't dive like this with people at work, man. There's not enough. I feel like there's not enough time usually, because there's so much that I'd like to do in the day that deals with work, that maybe I don't fill my cup in this way. And it'll happen here and there. Like, I'll end up in the office and I'll talk to my principal, and then I feel good about that talk. But it's, man, that is so rare. It's so rare. I would say 90% of the time when I'm in the office, he's not. And I would say 90% of the time when he's in the office, I'm not. So it's this is a guilty pleasure on Saturday or slash Sunday mornings that doesn't happen at work. And I still have not found my people at work. And I don't know if I ever will in the phase I'm in right now. There's professional people, like I can name three or four people that if I want to talk serious about my work and their work, it can happen. But still, everybody's running around doing what they need to do, and it's just work is not the place for these conversations, it seems like to me. Where and at the same time, those that is the place where these conversations
that's
should
why
be happening.
that's what made me laugh. I'm like, it's the epitome of paying to be a professional out of your own pocket, right? Like the idea that you know, big EDU would be so proud of us for drinking that Kool-Aid, that we are actually using up our own Sunday morning time to talk about it. Its neck must be burning right now.
They
Its
love
neck
it
must
too
be.
because they're like, yeah, you two go to work and you be 100% effective there, and don't spend any of my big time EDU money on this
Yeah.
stuff there.
And this is a top down cascading mindset. And I'm wondering, well, here we go. I'm going to reach up to Gary right now. Doesn't have to answer because I've observed this in other spaces. I can actually observe this phenomenon from through the teaching kind of like tier, let's say, of the leadership triangle, that there's this, it is both said and unsaid sometimes that the humans in the system carry the burden of the system's success. Now, that's just kind of like a general mindset. We do good work. The good work we hope translates to a more robust, supportive, awesome school board that we work in. And then you get in these moments where people start talking about deals and tradesies and kind of osies, and you start to realize why am I paying out of my own pocket for like a team luncheon? Like why do I feel compelled somehow that you know food must be provided, or gift must be provided, or covering each other in a classroom must be provided? Now, there's an easy answer because you want to contribute and support your colleagues. I get that. However, the top-down mindset is that becomes an unsaid conversation and we just do it. And when we don't do it, it's really simple to perceive it as either embarrassing or insulting, or you're not part of the team. The example that I have noticed, and I've noticed this for years, is that often administrators pay out of their own pocket for individuals and teams' gifts within the school. There was a time where administrators were able to, let's say, flip their budget, parts of their budget, for like a staff luncheon, let's say, or having snacks. Let's say a full school kind of a lunch, whatever, on a PA day or on a celebratory day. If not something like that, they admin can flip some cash to have coffee and muffins or bagels. That's pretty much been taken away. Like, it's kind of difficult to justify that. You don't really have that line anymore on there, or the non-line, just knowing no one's going to bother you because you have a slurry fund that you can kind of attribute to this, right? It's a good example of this. And I feel like it's in the same family of it. Maybe it's a Venn. It's attached to that same family of thinking that also means you and I feel the need to have professional conversations on the weekend, because we can't or don't have the time or don't have the connections to do it during work. So burying the actual success of the school board in my weekend pocket. This is a very familiar philosophy. And the thing that makes it problematic, here's what makes it problematic, is that from my end, it's 100% transactional. I am absolutely giving something up in order to do this. If I decide that I want to, contribute to the luncheon, I am absolutely giving something up to do this. Yes to one, no to another. There is no assurance that that actually progresses the relationship at all. And that's where it makes it kind of fascinating that you can contribute money, time, resources, emotion, and actually get nothing in return. It's the single directionality of it that makes it kind of strange for me when I really break it down. And from the admin's perspective, when something isn't provided, let's say on a PA day, like the coffee or the donuts, there's some real kind of like darkness that's projected that way. Like, oh, guess we're not good enough to get snacks this time around. When in fact, there's no rule that says you have to. The money in itself, the last time, was $50 out of each of the administrators' pockets. It didn't come from school budget. Maybe it wasn't said. Maybe that's part of the problem, is that we didn't clearly talk about this. Like the admin didn't stand in the front and say, we all contributed $50 and you all got coffee. Any administrator, like any teacher that I have a good connection with, part of the connection is based on that they're rocking their job as hard as I am. They're adulting, they're doing it well. And one of the responsibilities of doing that job really, really well is that the board takes as much time as you're willing to give it. As teachers, we can actually kind of like close up for the night. Administrators can't. So there's a bottomless investment there that could be done unless you're like, wellness first, I'm done. I'm shutting up for the evening. So every time I do hear my colleagues kind of say, oh, they're making the big bucks. Well, you start calculating their hourly and they might be making less than us. But the cost isn't about the money. The cost is about the time, the wellness, right? So yeah, that's I guess my curiosity after that TED talk is if Gary started to notice. I think we all notice these kind of weird kind of pockets, of contribution, time, money, emotion, focus. But I am wondering if he's noticing some of that, if that unsaid rule has crept up at all. The expectation, like you're kind of chipping in, when in fact, like you're working as hard as you can. Like, is that not enough? Can I not just be an awesome employee? Do I also have to give, $20 for this gift, $50 for the staff luncheon? Whew.
We'll see if Gary jumps in on that.
Yeah, we'll see.
And he doesn't have to, obviously. Or, Gary and I and you will end up talking about this at some other point.
Could be. Could be.
He said, well said, Chris. He also commented about the podcast and that his belief is that it's real, authentic, and organic conversation.
It's good.
Certainly it's not scripted. It's been a while since you and I were like, hey, what do we want to talk about? It's just we just talk now. We just go. I'm going to speak for Gary for a second and say that I think Gary's been in this world, working. Okay, so Gary, secondary school teacher, right? I believe Gary was a history teacher. He taught a lot of history before he moved into school improvement in a formal way. And I just think that he's been rolling in these circles for years, right? Observing administration, being part of decision making, sitting at the big kids table. I think he's seen enough that he's in a place right now where I'm pretty sure, this is saying a lot too, because I'm really going out on an edge here, but that he's seen enough and he knows enough people that He's got his way of operating. Yes, he's getting used to a new role, but at the same time, he's seen a lot of things, experienced a lot of things. I just feel there's a difference between somebody in a classroom who says, I want to be an administrator versus somebody in student success who's literally with them all day long. Yes, at the end of the day, he can punch out in a different way than they can traditionally, right? Because you're always going to have somebody who is not traditional. They're going to do what they need to do and how they do it. But my guess for Gary, this is kind of fun playing with other people's context. My guess for Gary is that I think he knows what he's gotten himself into as much as someone can without actually being in the role. Just because
Yeah.
in the like in my role, I'm constantly with admin, sometimes more than I want to be. But
Hmm.
I see what's happening in the office. I'm not surprised anymore when I go to the office for a meeting and they're not around. And then one of the awesome admin assistants will say, "Oh, are you looking for so and so?" Yeah, he's not going to be back anytime soon because he was just given a task to go do X, Y, and Z. I'm like, okay, I'm out. And then I go and I send the email, "Hey, I was there, but I heard you weren't going to be back for a bit. Connect with me when you're back in the office if you want to do this, and we'll see if I can do it at that time." So it's not like oh my god, it's 1 o'clock, where is he? It's, oh,
Hmm.
this is what's happening right now in the hallway. Or or my favorite one is go to the office and see the police walking down the admin hallway going to somebody's office. I'm like, no caseload today.
Yeah, if I'm walking towards and I see them walking in, I'm like, okay, another time. And I
Yeah.
have to make a little note. I have to actually make a remind yourself 30 minutes, check back in the office. That's all it is. And I'll, because it literally is that it is the cue that you need to slow your roll. You do. You,
Or,
you
oh, sorry,
no,
go.
no, go ahead, man. Go, go.
No, no, I was just gonna say, like, you know how many times I've been walking up a certain stairwell. And it's really cool in our school when you at the at the landing of every stairwell, there's these big windows. And I've looked outside and I've seen two out of the three administrators leaving the school building to go across the street to the
Yeah.
strip mall. And I'm like,
Yeah,
I won't
yeah.
be seeing them for the rest of the day because that equals probably suspensions and all the stuff that comes with having to go over there. It means
Hmm.
something has happened or is
Yep.
happening. Yeah. So I'm learning these things now about secondary and and also finding if I'm supposed to be in a meeting and I can't be, okay, then I'm going to go back to my space and I'm going to do the work that I'd be doing if I were not in the meeting. Because what happens is sometimes they call me and they're like, "Hey, we can meet now. Are you free?" And I'm like, "Yeah," because I did the work that I was going to do when I wasn't with them. You get what I'm saying? So
Yep.
it's like tradesies, OZs, which I hate. I can't even talk about that here because right now I'm so passionate about that issue.
Hmm.
I'm definitely going to say something that's going to cause me, this could get me into trouble. So I'm just not going to talk about it.
I like it. So the current this wrap up unit that I'm doing, this, well, unit 4 before we get to unit 5, um, is all about, well, not all about goal setting. And at the front end of it, between the habits and the goal setting units, I talked about the Eisenhower matrix. I love the Eisenhower matrix. It's so simple. You've seen it. It's the important and urgent, necessary and not necessary. So you can do a couple different ways, but it's basically um, a way to decide what you need to do next. And if it's just a 4 block matrix. If it's important and urgent, then you do it right away. If it's important but not urgent, then you schedule it for a time. If it's not important but urgent, then you may delegate it. You ask somebody else to take care of it, right? If you can. And if it's not important and not urgent, delete, make it gone. And right away with students, I actually put it as part of my plan when I show it to them. Like, because we have, I call it the yellow pages in class, I'll ask the kids, what assignments do you have coming up? And we keep it on this running document. So right at the morning meeting, when we come in, we check the yellow pages just as a reminder. And we can see the kid has said math test on Thursday. You on track? Do you need support? Whatever. And as that kind of like makes it up to the top, I will start to include the graphic of the Eisenhower matrix. And I will put an arrow from the Eisenhower matrix to the current assignment, like the 2 or 3. And I'll say, last week, it was in the second quadrant, as in you needed to schedule something, right? It's important, but not urgent, which means you should have scheduled it. I said, today, though, because this item is popping up in the next 24 to 48 hours, it is now officially urgent and important. You've got to get it done. And I could even parse this all the way down to like James Clear talking about the 1% improvement. And if the job only takes you 2 minutes, do it right away, 2 to 5 minutes, get it done right away, right? You can sort of imprint something as important and urgent if it just is kind of like a thorny kind of a thing. Just get it done because you're standing there. You won't like it, but jump on it right away. It's the cold plunge mindset. I have observed in admin that everything is important and urgent, and they have very little control over what possibly could become important and urgent. And to their detriment, that is the measure of their success, their ability to keep everything in the important and urgent quadrant. Not that they can schedule it, not that they can delegate it, which really would be 2 better metrics for leadership than just you being the one to getting it done. It reminds me back in the restaurant biz when I was running the expo, which was the assembler. It wasn't my job to cook the steaks. It was my job to ensure that I had an idea of how many steaks were going to be ordered, that I sort of directed someone to put the steak on the grill, that when I looked over at the steaks, I could read what was on the grill and I understood the state of each of those steaks, that I could look at the bills and I could see what's the timing here. What's the timing here? When am I going to call that steak? And if that one's slowing down, I got to pull that steak off to the side. Like that was that sort of conductor idea, but I wasn't one cooking the steaks. What I've observed in admin, which is why I'll walk up, I'm like, walk away, is because they are in that important and urgent mind frame, it seems, all day long. And I can get that. I know it, that moment when, because it's so satisfying when you have something that you think you need to talk to an administrator about. And I say that specifically. You really do think. You don't go to the administrator's office unless you do think you have something to talk to them about. And you walk in and they're just about to put a mouthful of salad in their face. You simultaneously, at least I'm like, I should also just turn and walk away. Because I know for a fact that salad they probably intended to start to eat 2 hours ago. I'm looking at the clock, it's 3:10, and they're pulling out their salad. I'm like, lunch was 2 hours, like the typical lunch was 2 hours ago. So I am entirely aware of that fact whenever I try and use that mindset. And I don't have a catchy way to kind of frame it. I use that mindset whenever I expect another human to help me. It's the read the room moment, right? And I don't have a clear sense. I have more, I guess maybe, no, I do have a pretty clear sense of what it takes to be admin. I mean, we spent enough time talking about it for years. I've done the courses. I know people. And because of all that, that helps me feel confident in my decision to not pursue the position. I don't want to be putting salad in my face at 3 p.m. I don't want everything that I had on my checklist to be benched because I have to walk across to the plaza. And it's that loss of agency for me that I'm not willing to give up, which I think is the absolute currency to doing that role. You're going to be deeply involved in relationships, deeply involved in people, deeply involved in other people's stuff, under the auspices that that's your responsibility to make sure it turns out okay within different kind of realms, but basically that it turns according to board, turns according to relationship, turns according to parent, whatever. Yeah.
So if
Not
I
doing
could
that.
jump in, I want
Do
to
it.
make a comment about the decision matrix, which is it's cool. I've got it up here in front of me, and yes, I'm
I
familiar
love
with
it.
it.
I love it.
Before I go there, I'll just say Gary said sticking to a planned schedule can be challenging some days. I would argue at my school most days. Like when I book a time with an administrator, I don't really believe it's going to happen. I still show up at the time that we agreed upon, but I'm fully prepared to turn around and walk away.
And that's what makes us pause that moment at the door when we see them putting the salad in their face, because you may actually be, this could be your third or fourth time trying to connect with them. And at that point, you might be believing like your stuff is like just burning down to the last few embers. I
Yeah.
need someone to throw the water on it. I still, even in that moment, I ask myself, is it really that important? More important than that moment that's about to happen, which is the administrator. Yeah, it's okay. Come on in, come on in, come in. I just want to eat my salad. When I know as a fellow human, I need to close that door and tell them to turn off their light and just say, enjoy your salad. Take this time. I'm walking away.
I get you. Um, what Gary's saying here, urgency in your eyes and urgency of others is a delicate balancing act, and that's just what I was about to say. So,
Mm,
in a caseload meeting, I see this decision matrix come to life. Right,
mhm,
there are four people sitting around a table, and how do these things play out? You know, what does everybody agree has to happen now? And the delegation's hilarious because that happens, right? Like we're talking about a situation like, okay, Roland, this is what we need you to do. And then to me, it's hilarious. It goes from urgent to not important for the team to becoming urgent and important for me because now it's on my it's mine. I own it. And so we start the meeting with delete everything, right? Nobody's invested yet. Let's just what's this on this on here to okay. w- And it really is a I'm thinking about my meetings. It really is a group effort. It's kind of cool actually that we all have a say and but it's funny that the minute someone's my name gets put down as the team member who's dealing with it, bro, when I leave that meeting, everything that my name's attached to is urgent and important. Now, will it all happen that day? No. It'll take a week, but you better believe that those items are at the top of my mind and it's very difficult to shift that out of my head. Um,
mhm,
and what allows the shift is is context. I get back up to my office. I've got an hour and a half left in the day. I look at what needs to be done that day with my e-learning course or other things, and then if that's open, well, I start making calls. And then it's like, hey, is Clough in your period 5 class? No, he's not here today. Clough goes to the bottom of my list. I go to the next kid. And that's the only thing that helps me navigate my urgent and important stuff. Context. Kids are missing, or a kid shows up at the door and he's like, "Hey, you've been looking for me?" "Yeah, where have you been?" "Like you're not in class, but you're here? Come on
mhm,
in, have a seat. I need to know what's up because you've landed on my list. We need to talk about attendance or your mom called or admin talked to you last week about something. You didn't do what you said you were going to do. Now we need to chat. You know, I need to, I need, and I'm very open with my students. Like, I'm like, hey, your name popped up. And so we're chatting to figure out what's up. Learning accommodations not working. How come you're not here? What's happening at home? What's happening socially? Like, I really do my best to talk to them like humans. Like, are you okay? Because you're on the radar. And usually in my work, you're not on the radar for the right reason. So are you okay? And then you hear the story most of the time, right?
mhm.
But anyway, that matrix, hilarious for me as I'm thinking about the one I have in front of me is color coded, and I think how quickly we go from how these things bounce around, how they change colors as you have a conversation. So yeah, Gary, urgency in other people's eyes come to me, and I'm like, that's not urgent for me. But they're like, well, it's urgent for us. So in the top down hierarchy, I'm at the bottom. So um, I'm usually getting the people above me giving me what they believe is urgent. And I'm like, again, I'm like, great. It's on my list of things to do. You want it done ASAP. What's going to make or break this is if the kid's here or not. If the kid's not here, it's not getting done.
Hmm.
Hilarious, because you know how many times they've said to me, "Hey, what happened with?" And I'm like, "I haven't been able to meet Jimmy." And they're like, then they look at you because I know what they're thinking. They're like, "Why haven't you met with Jimmy? Like I talked to you about this the other day." And I'm like, "Look at the sheet and you'll see the days and times I went looking for Jimmy. He's nowhere to be found." That's my favorite thing to do is I record everything I've done. Other people don't, and that's their business. But for me, when they say to me, "Hey, how come you haven't talked to it?" Or they don't say how come, they just say, "What's happening? Have you checked in with
Yeah.
Jimmy?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I called
It's not curiosity, it's comment.
I've
Yeah.
called, yeah, on 4 different occasions, 4 different periods. Like it's like a matrix for me. I don't call every day the same time. I try to mix it up. So then at the end I can say, this is what I got. I can't find Jimmy. The problem is bigger than we think it is because I can't get Jimmy and I'm at ground zero, right? If anybody can find someone, it's me because that's my job to find them. If I can't find them, then now needs to be on somebody else's radar
Mhm.
because if I'm the bottom of the barrel and I can't get them, and sometimes I play dirty. And the reason why I'm going to say that, I'll tell you why I'm going to say that. It feels dirty because other people don't do it. So if I go looking for Jimmy, let's say it takes me 2 or 3 days, I still can't find Jimmy. I will email Jimmy's parents and say, "Hey, it's Mr. Chidiak. I'm the da 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 da. I've been looking for Jimmy for 3 days. I can't find him. He's never in class. Can you please tell Jimmy I'd like to speak with him?" And then all of a sudden, most of the time, Jimmy appears. Like, Jimmy appears like, "Why are you contacting my parents?" Well, if your ass was in class, I wouldn't have to go to your parents. But I can't find you, and I'm accountable.
Mhm.
But the kids look at me like, "You're playing dirty." I'm like, "No, dude, I'm not playing dirty." But this is what upsets me a little bit. Nobody else is doing that. Nobody else is contacting home to say we can't find Jimmy. That seems like It seems to me 2 things. Number 1, I don't like it. I don't like it. If my son is on the radar of a caseload and nobody can find him and I'm not hearing about it. Now I know maybe Gary's like, "Well, attendance is calling home." You know how many parents ignore those attendance messages? It's a nuisance to them. They're like, "Oh, I got another one. Who
Mhm.
cares?" That's the vibe I'm getting from parents these days. So yeah, attendance, they're being notified that they're being marked absent, but nobody's really doing anything about it. And so nobody's contacting home. So when I contact home, it's like, "Uh-oh, a teacher called home." Well, shouldn't all the teachers be contacting? Like, this has got to be my elementary training. It's got to be. Because in elementary, you're with the same kids every day for 10 months. So if Jimmy doesn't show up for 3 days, I'm concerned. If I don't know that they're gone on vacation or the office hasn't notified me that mom's called and Jimmy's got the flu, so he's just staying home for the week, it's like, uh-oh, we got a problem here. It's not just the office's responsibility, it's mine because Jimmy's part of my 10-month family every day for the whole day. So I have that mentality. I call it playing dirty because it appears dirty. Because the kid's like, "What are you calling home for? You haven't even met with me." I'm like, "That's the problem. I can't find you over 3 days. Where are you?" And we'll get to that. Are you okay? Like, where have you been? Are you okay? And then you hear, "No, I'm not. Math sucks. There are kids in the class that make fun of me, or I hate my teacher, or I don't understand, so why bother going?" Right? And then it's like, "Well, okay, okay, okay. Let's talk about this. Let's figure this out as best as we can with your interest in figuring it out." But I play dirty, according to them, by contacting home. Because then all of a sudden it's like, "Oh, my dad's going to kill me." Well, you should have thought of that before you skipped a million days that now you're on my caseload and we need to talk about it because I'm the first line of defense, right? And then
Hmm.
so anyway, I lost my track there, but I record it all. I'm like, no, man, I'm trying to find Jimmy. He's never around. So that should be like new alarm bells should be ringing because you thought it was important enough to give it to me to deal with it, and I can't find him. Or my favorites are I found him in the hallway when I was walking between this place and this place. And that's a lot of my stuff happens in the hallway. I stop and I engage with the student in a friendly manner. And then if I see the opportunity to say, we need to talk serious, I look for that, right? Or if another one, if I haven't seen a kid and their name hasn't popped up on my radar, but I see them in the hallway, like, yo, what's going on? We haven't
Hmm.
sat down to talk. Are you good? What's going on with science? I always try to connect it to the last thing we talked about. How's your mom? I haven't heard from your mom. That means things must be good, right? And then they do whatever they do. And the look on their face, because the first thing that they think I'm going to say is, why aren't you in class? It's not the
Yeah,
first thing I say. I leave
in
that to the
trouble.
hall monitors. Now, what I will do, if I'm getting some lip, I'll be like, where's your uniform? Why are you out of uniform? You look like you're about to jog a marathon. You don't look like you're at school. What's going on? And then I get whatever. But all that to say, this shift, this shift in what is urgent and what is not urgent, and man, you could tell me my whole job today is to find Jimmy. But if Jimmy's not in the building, I can send an email home. I can send an email to Jimmy, but there's not much more I can do. And before I be quiet, I'm going to connect this to re-engagement. I've already deleted my re-engagement process of when I was outside of a building. That's gone now. I've suggested a couple times maybe somebody should go to the house, and I've gotten the dirtiest looks in the world. So I'm just like, delete. They don't want to hear, nobody wants to hear about the strategies I used to use when I was out of the building. Now that I'm in the building, I understand why teachers in the building don't leave. It's not just because they don't think it's their job. It's because nobody in the hierarchy will allow it. I could say to my VP, yo, third period's my prep, fourth period's my lunch. I'm leaving the building. I'm going to go to Jimmy's house. They're not going to be happy with that. You can't just leave. I'm not just leaving. I'm telling you what I'm doing. I'm going to sign out at the office. Well, you know, I know what. This used to work when I was in re-engagement. They're like, well, you're in the building now. It's almost like when you're out of the building, everybody in the building who's got an innovative mindset is like, that'd be awesome. If you were in the building and you, that'd be awesome. But I'm telling you, I'm in a building now and I work with very open-minded individuals, and I don't believe that they're okay with it. If I'm like, hey, Tuesdays and Thursdays, prep and lunch, I'm out. They're not, no way. They're going to lose their shit.
Hmm.
And Gary, jump in if you want, if you feel you can. I'd love to hear your take on it, Gary, because when I was out of the building, that was my job to go, go, go. Now that I'm in a building, nobody wants me out of the building. They don't want me out. Like, you can't leave because we're going to call you for this and you're going to need to do. They don't, they do not want me to leave because I'm in the building. So now I understand. It's really kind of cool. I understand stereotypically. But when I would say to people in the building, you need to go to the house, they're like, I'm not going to the house. And it's not just because they didn't want to, it's because I feel like those four walls, man, they're not going to let you out.
Do you, when you think back on those times, do you think you are operating the within legal parameters as far as our understanding of the Education Act, or do you think you were kind of operating with a certain element of impunity, as in this was what was needed to do, so I'm going to do it? Like now that you sort of think back, you see the inside the school experience. Do you think that there was an alternate set of rules for you, or you were just getting the job done and there was an element of maybe naivete that it actually was a little bit more dangerous than you were either willing to say or understood?
I love this question because you got me. Now that I have experience now, I have experience that I didn't have before, which
Hmm.
allows me to gives me knowledge and understanding and a little bit more context. So naivete for sure, but not only naivete. That was that job was my bread and butter. That's what I did every day. So if
Hmm.
I didn't operate differently, then what was the purpose of having me? Now,
Hmm.
having said that, what was it dangerous? Yeah. Did I did I break rules? I'm sure I did. Like, but they created the system created the job.
Hmm.
So I would argue the system, whether they knew it or not, they were the ones who gave me permission to do the things I did, even though I know in a heartbeat if something bad happened, they'd be like, "You're on your own. You shouldn't have done that." I'm like,
Hmm.
"That's my whole job description. What do you mean I shouldn't have done that?" Um, but yeah, now that I'm trapped inside the four walls again, I'm like, "Oh shit, that was dangerous. I was naive. Oh, who does that? Who goes to a house?" And now, I never went into any houses, so I can
Hmm.
safely say I didn't break that seal. I was always outside. I was never in somebody's private residence. Um, but I was knocking on doors and I was going places where nobody else would go. Um, and not only was I knocking on doors, I was a little bit, when I would see the whites of your eyes at the door, I'd be like, I was thinking, okay, good, man. I got my teeth in you. Now I'm gonna pull you out of that house. You get what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm.
it's not like, "Oh, I'm here and I just wanna talk to you." It's like, "Oh, you came to the door and you're dressed. So grab the backpack and let's start walking." Right? And you knew I had a trunk, I had my boots, I had an umbrella, I had a chair, I had everything I needed. I was mobile, like mobile vehicle, mobile by foot. I was mobile. I was ready. And I think that that mindset doesn't exist because these people don't leave the four walls.
Hmm.
Uh, but yeah, thanks for asking that question. I kind of feel bad because I feel like I did something wrong, but at the time, my job was to find these people and to build a plan to get them back to school. And I think some of that needed to be showing that I cared. It needed to be, let's sit out here and have lunch together on your porch. Like, that's what it needed. And it
Hmm.
some of it worked, right? Like, I wasn't batting. My numbers are bad, but contextually they're good, right?
Hmm.
'Cause I did bring people back. 100%, no, that was never going to happen because I also learned about situations that were way bigger than the system is, way bigger. And I was like, oh my God, I think I just exposed some crazy stuff.
It
But
was
I,
it was an early taste of the man the moment demands.
oh, 100%. The,
Like seriously, like
the teacher,
what
the
you were,
moment demands.
yeah, the teacher, yeah, the teacher the time demanded. You could write that book too. It is, and really the comprehensive approach that you took, and with an alternative way. You are every day answering, how is this personalized, how is this alternative, which is kind of, as your phrase, the bread and butter of alt ed. Constantly asking yourself that every single day: how is this personalized, how is this alternative? And the moment that it starts to approach regular thinking, you have to start thinking transitionally. You don't just get to go back to regular thinking. You need to think about that intermediary space between the personal and alternative. What's the middle gray space that we can get the kids ready, whatever, the teachers ready, whatever, the system ready, so that when they do transition over that sort of like in through that space, it's not like they're stripped of everything that they established. They get to bring some of that with them.
I would
And
like
unfortunately, I think you were pulled before the system was willing to figure that out, because it's the transitional space between that personal and alternative and the regular system that solidifies that relationship, and it forces the system to say, we need to attribute money to this, we need to make this long standing, we need to formalize this. It's not just going to be as you did, you buried that approach in your pocket, because now, even thinking back, like if it didn't become formalized in a way, those kids are still out there, right? So those kids are still out there. Some of them are still same mindset, probably could still be, they would appreciate having the system tools that you started to kind of tweak and play with. So
The really A really cool thing that's happened to me is now that I'm back in the building. I know last year when I was in the monitoring room and it was IEPs and student success at the same time, a student success teacher would put together a plan for a student, and then they would let the monitors know, the other monitors in the room, hey, this kid, we're re-engaging this kid. So, and before they could give me the so, I'm like, I already know. So if Jimmy is here and the purpose is to get Jimmy in the building, I'm not going to hammer Jimmy about his uniform.
mm,
I'm not going to hammer Jimmy about, did you finish all the math that was assigned to you? Because I've seen the other side. I know how hard it can be to even have them enter the building. So then when they're in the building, we don't need people in their face about all the rules and regulations, because that's going to trigger Jimmy to just turn around, walk out and say, nobody cares. So why even bother? So the one person on the outside who's demonstrating care and can finagle Jimmy to get back in the building, once Jimmy's in the building, he doesn't belong to the outsider anymore. He belongs to me.
mhm,
And I've learned now, I see the other side. When a guidance counselor or the social worker, somebody brings a poor soul to me in the monitoring room and says, hey, Roland, this is Jimmy. Jimmy's been struggling with, and then they give me the information about Jimmy without giving me the information about Jimmy. When Jimmy sits down, I'm not hammering Jimmy about everything. I usually offer Jimmy some food. There's a bucket. I bring it over. Hey, Jimmy, do you want something to eat as you're getting set up? No, I'm good, Mr. C. Maybe later. Okay. And then, you'll wait. And then you're like, okay, Jimmy, I noticed that, so and so said you were going to do some stuff on D2L. Do you have your own computer? No, I'm going to need a desktop. No problem, Jimmy. Come over here, sit beside me, because I'm going to be at my computer. So you can sit beside me. We can check in. And I'm observing, right? Is Jimmy compliant at all? Is Jimmy going to run when he has the opportunity? What's going on with Jimmy? Now, I know all this now because I have experience. And sometimes Jimmy folds right in and starts doing stuff. And sometimes Jimmy sits there on his phone and he just won't engage. So I need to decide what is most important right now. Is it more important that Jimmy's actually here in the building? Or, am I supposed to be hammering Jimmy? Usually I don't. Usually I wait a few days, and if Jimmy's coming daily, eventually I'm like, yo, Jimmy, it's time, man. That phone's got to get put away. There's a plan for you. We need to take a look at, let's look at the plan today. So even in my approach is very slow. It's to other people. And the teachers are mad. They're like, I want that assignment, man. Where's the assignment? I'm like, whoa, whoa. Look, everybody, friggin' social worker brought him in here. That tells me that there's stuff going on beyond my understanding. Serious
mhm,
stuff. So who am I to wreck that now? I'm not interested in wrecking that. Somebody else can wreck it. I get it. I know how hard it was for that person to sink their teeth into the kid and bring them in. I get that. So I'm going to honor that as best as I can. And I get snowed all the time, right? I get snowed all the time. One kid came in about 30 minutes later, sweetest pie. Kid comes up to me and says, I'd like to go put my uniform on. I'm like, oh, you have your uniform? Yeah, yeah, it's in my bag. And they open their bag, they show me. They leave, gone. Never see them again. And then I just send a bunch of emails and say, yo, they asked to go put their uniform on. I was happy to oblige. I didn't tell them to go do it, and they never came back. FYI. Okay. I get snowed all the time. Sometimes it bothers me. Some days when my ego kicks in, it bothers me, but then I put it aside and I'm like, no, your place, you're gonna get snowed in your position. It's gonna happen.
Yep. Yep. Get out the snowshoes.
Yeah, get out the snowshoes, put the parka on. You're
That's
getting
it.
snowed hard. Yeah.
Yeah, here comes the wind. I love it.
So now I say to kids when they're like, "Can I go to the bathroom?" I'm like, "You gonna fall in, be gone for an hour?" They're like, "No." I'm like, well, what happens if you do fall in? That's what I just. They're like, they're smiling. I'm like, for real. They're like, I don't know. I should be back in, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes. I'm like, that's a lot of time.
Yep.
And then I'm like, okay, well, let's give it a go. And you just build, right? Because now there are kids. There are kids now where I can say, put that phone away, or I'm tossing it. I'm tossing it.
Yep.
They're like, okay, okay, Mr. C, But I'm like, I've had enough, man. Like, I'm willing to break the phone now and pay for it and get in trouble for it because that's where I'm at with you. It's like, okay, okay. But you got to build something there before you tell a kid you're going to toss their phone. Or at least
I
in my mind, yeah.
It's true. I haven't gone that far to mention that. I just tell them I go, I don't like to bring it to your attention. I don't like to bring things to your attention until I see a pattern. And when I notice a pattern, I have to ask myself, is it a habit? Because a pattern doesn't necessarily have to be a habit. When I see it's a habit, then you and I will be standing as we are right now having a conversation. Here's the habit. You asked to go to the bathroom. You aren't going to the bathroom. You're doing something else. Can you in future? This is my first kind of salvo. Can you in future keep it to 5 minutes? Regardless of what you're doing, can you keep it to 5 minutes? And they just kind of look at you. I said, okay, I know you're not going to the bathroom. I know many kids put their hand up, they ask to go to the bathroom. I know that in that case, it could be that you're walking around to trying to find a bathroom because they lock bathroom doors in our school in order to kind of control the flow. That happens. So I said it can be you're trying to find a bathroom, then you go. And it could be while you're trying to find a bathroom, you see Jimmy. You're like, yo, Jimmy, what's good? And then you stand talk to Jimmy, and then you're like, oh shit, I still have to go shit. Right. So you see a Jimmy, I gotta go. So sometimes that 5 can turn into 15. Here's the deal. Next time you run into Jimmy, don't say hi to Jimmy. Dap and walk, dap and walk, dap and walk. Just go. Go find the other bathroom, make it back in 5 minutes. And they just sit there. I'm like, yeah, I said all those words. I said, but now that I've seen the pattern, and you know that I've seen the pattern, the next step is a flat out no when you ask to go to the bathroom. I said, short of a biological issue that you're having, but guaranteed I'll follow up and ask your parents if you actually have a sore tummy. And by that point, they're like, I'll be back in 5 minutes. I'm like, thank you. My expression of curiosity is longer than them going to the bathroom, which I realize. But it's the cringe and I said in this conversation that I'm having you right now about having a poop and a pee, it feels really like unnecessary, doesn't it? They're like, stop saying poop and pee. I'm like, okay, I won't say poop and pee again. You just make sure you're back in 5 minutes. But again, that's kind of like you saying you're going to chuck their phone. Like I know my students, when it comes to students where are covering a class, then I can only take the pattern to the next time I'm in the class. Right? To hammer a kid and I'm the first timer in and I've got no controls to have like a mentor coaching conversation. I have been back in classes though, where the kid has come up and they said, can I go to the bathroom? I'm like, no. They're like, what? I'm like, no. You went to the bathroom the exact same time the last time I was here. I said, so this is obviously a habit. And the last time you were gone for 15, 20 minutes, I can't have that. The rule that I'm working under is that students can't be out for any longer than 5 minutes. You've broken that rule, or you forced me to break that rule. I'm not going to let you force me to break that rule. You'll have to wait. But no. So, but that's only if I can actually get back into a class again. And it's only happened once or twice this year that I've actually had an on-call in the same classroom. You have to play the game because it is a game, unless you have other tools outside. Like they took this as a challenge of practice last year in my school, and we took it as a challenge of practice back at Keswick the year before, where we as a staff, OSSTF members, decided to organize, and we did our prep outside our classrooms if we were that person, and we watched the bathrooms. At the school I'm currently at, we actually limited access to the bathrooms. So for a semester, we had a schedule, and teachers would sit outside the bathroom, say one at a time, or it would depend on the number of actual stalls in there, right? We would limit, I think, it maybe three at a time, and then we would bang on the door. We're like, "Get out, go back to class." And then if there was enough students that were standing and waiting, they had to stand and wait to go. And then it was actually really impactful. Then on calls needed to be covered. Like we couldn't keep it going. So it was like a short run. I think we did it for a month, maybe a month. So do you have vape detectors in your bathrooms?
Not that I know of. No.
So in our board we have vape detectors in the bathrooms.
Does it work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Every time it gets set off, an administrator sent an email.
Oh, okay.
There are some admin that get 200 emails a day, just notifications from the vape detector.
Holy cow, man.
That's something, eh?
Yeah. Let's get Gary one of those for Christmas.
You've got them, they've set up some sort of a macro or a filter that whenever that email comes from that email address, I'm sure it's not a changing email address, it goes right into a folder. Last thing you want is your inbox flooded 200 emails just from that.
Uh-huh.
And it does, I think it gives you location. So it does tell you like which sensor it came from, so you can sort of effectively deal with it. Yeah.
Oh, bro.
It's funny, the cat came down. Cat's
Oh.
wandering up this. Somebody must have opened the door upstairs. Maybe somebody opened the door to wonder what I was doing down here. I didn't tell anyone I was doing a pod today. So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Well, I heard
Did you hear?
Oliver, right?
Yeah,
Oliver.
he's you can kind of see you see the stairs there,
Yeah.
just right there. They're open. So I thought I heard something, and I could see him just slowly walking up the stairs, and now he's chirping at the top. They must have closed the door behind him.
Oh, that's funny. Go bother Dad. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be that. I think probably someone just checked. They opened the door and he went running down. He's prone, like he's nowhere, and then you open a door and all of a sudden he runs through the door, like he's just like waiting for people to do that. So,
Right. I think we're done, eh? Are we done?
I'm good. I'm
Okay.
good. Yeah,
You're
yeah,
good.
yeah. I'm gonna go get groceries at 10.
Okay.
So off. Oh.
We almost played Fortnite together last night. Maybe
I
another.
believe I'm all updated. So I don't know if we got time later. I hadn't been on my PS5 in like a month and a half. So there was a ton of updates. And even with the really good Wi-Fi that I have, the amount of updating that it needed to do, plus my system needed some patch. So there are like 3 major updates it had to do. I think it rolled in at maybe like 40 gigs worth of stuff it had to download. So that's a test. That's a test. So
anyway, I played. It was nice. I missed you.
good. Are you all updated on it? Like it's all the latest stuff?
Yeah, it's all the latest stuff.
Do you actively go on and check the updates to make sure that it's
No.
updated, or just wow, good for
like
you?
I was like, I'm gonna ask Chris if he wants to play, and then you're like, hey, there's an update. I updated it, and then I played a little bit. So maybe next week we'll talk about my experience yesterday, but probably we won't anyway. It's all good though.
All right, brother.
Thanks, Gary, for hanging out, for dropping some comments. Yeah, same to you, Gary. And for anybody else that listened or is listening, thanks for checking us out. This was
I appreciate it.
Chris appreciates it. Roland does too. So does Jimmy. This was season 9, episode 14, number 362 of the Decoded Podcast. Peace.
Peace, man.